Hello everyone. Thank you for visiting Arduinna's workshop. Today we'll be making a fairy door from polymer clay. Other supplies used in this video will be listed in the description box below. You can make your fairy door any shape or size you want. I like to make these smaller ones as pendants, or sometimes I glue a magnet on the back. The door we'll be making today is rounded at the top, but you can make it pointed. You can make a little curly Q. We'll be using my favorite brand of polymer clay, Sculpt Primo. I cut out, painted, and baked this heart ahead of time. I used a cookie cutter, but you can do it freehand if you're good at that. You want to start with a sheet of polymer clay. I rolled this out on my pasta maker on the thickest setting. I like to create directly on a ceramic tile. That way I can just pop it in the oven. We're going to start by making a frame around the door, some stones at the bottom, some wood texture at the top. Roll out a snake of clay about the thickness you'll want your stones to be. Then cut that into smaller pieces. Before we start adding the stones, I want to add a step at the bottom from a little bit thicker snake of clay. Now roll each piece into a ball and attach it to the side of the door. Continue until you've gone about halfway up each side of the door. Next, let's add the wood texture at the top. I'm just forming a snake of clay across the top of the door from one side to the other. My snake of clay wasn't long enough, so I had to trim it off at the top. Be sure to press all parts of the door frame into the door itself, so it'll stick together well when it bakes. I'm going to use a large ball stylus to create some texture on the stones. And I'll use my Explorer tool to create the wood grain across the top. If you don't have a tool like this, no worries. You can use a toothpick. It'll work just as well. Here I'm creating the door hinges. You can really use any kind of shape you want, even just a little teardrop shape. But I've taken a flat rectangle and I've kind of made it into a point that's curling in one direction. The top hinge is going to go up and the bottom hinge is going to curl down. For the doorknob, you can do something as simple as a small ball of clay attached in the right place. Here I'm creating a plate with a keyhole at the bottom and the doorknob at the top. Just using my ball stylus again to create some texture. Here I'm using a smaller ball stylus to create the keyhole. To create some foliage, we're going to start with a snake of clay. I like to start with a little curl at the end of my vine and then just drape it over your door in any way that you're inspired. You can stop at one, or if you're like me, you can be extra. To make the leaves, I start out with a sheet of clay rolled at a thinner setting on my pasta machine. It's easy enough to cut leaves out freehand. I like to measure a little bit before I start cutting. Soften the sides a little bit by pressing gently with your finger. Using your Explorer tool or your toothpick, create one vein down the center of each leaf and then diagonal veins opposing on each side. Then attach them to the vine that you previously put on your door. Once you're satisfied with your details, it's time to paint. I like to use one big brush to cover large surfaces and a smaller one to get into all the little nooks and crannies. I am not much of a painter, so I love using mica powders. Its effect on black clay is just stunning. Another favorite of mine are these metallic flakes, kind of like gold leaf, but in smaller pieces and different colors. You can find a link to all my supplies in the description box below. Now let's paint. Bake according to the directions on your clay's packaging. I hope you picked up some techniques today that you can use in your next project. Come on, let's go inside.